Executive orders are directives issued by the President of the United States to manage the operation. They carry the force of law, but are not legislation passed by Congress. The President's power to issue executive orders is not explicitly granted by the Constitution. This power is which vests the President with the executive power and the duty to faithfully execute the laws. Executive orders serve various purposes, including clarifying or further implementing existing laws, establishing the executive branch, and addressing emergencies or unforeseen circumstances. They provide a mechanism for the President to act swiftly and decisively on matters deemed important for national interest. Executive orders has been subject to ongoing debate regarding their scope and potential for overreach. The President's use of executive orders has evolved over time, reflecting the changing nature of the challenges facing the nation. From George Washington's first executive order establishing procedures for the executive branch, to modern-day presidents addressing complex issues such as immigration, executive orders have become an integral tool of presidential power. While executive orders provide the President with a degree of flexibility and responsiveness in managing the executive branch, their use raises importance of power within the government and their potential impact on the democratic process. Throughout American history, presidents have utilized executive orders to address a wide range of issues, shaping the course of the nation. From early executive orders establishing governmental procedures to landmark orders advancing civil rights, these directives have left an indelible mark on society. One notable example is President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, issued in 1863 during the Civil War. This executive order declared the freedom of slaves in Confederate states, marking a pivotal moment in the fight against slavery. Lincoln's use of executive power during this critical period exemplified the potential for bold action through executive orders. Another significant instance is President Franklin D. Roosevelt's Executive Order 9066, issued in 1942 during World War II. This controversial order authorized the internment of Japanese Americans, leading to the forced relocation and detention of over 100,000 people based solely on their ancestry. While later deemed a grave injustice, this executive order highlights the potential for abuse of power through such directives. The historical use of executive orders demonstrates their capacity to effect significant change, both positive and negative. It underscores the importance of scrutinizing the use of such power to ensure its alignment with constitutional principles and democratic values. The Constitution does not explicitly grant the President the power to issue executive orders. However, Article 2 of the Constitution vests the President with the executive power and the duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. From these provisions, the power to issue executive orders is inferred as an inherent power of the presidency. The Supreme Court has generally upheld the use of executive orders, recognizing them as a legitimate exercise of presidential power. In the landmark case of Youngstown Sheet and Tube Co. v. Sawyer in 1952, the court established a framework for evaluating the constitutionality of executive orders. The court held that the President's power to issue executive orders is at its strongest when acting pursuant to an express or implied authorization from Congress, but is at its weakest when acting contrary to congressional will. Despite this general recognition of executive power, the use of executive orders has been subject to ongoing debate and legal challenges. Critics argue that executive orders can be used to circumvent Congress, erode the separation of powers, and expand presidential authority beyond constitutional limits. They contend that excessive reliance on executive orders undermines the legislative process and weakens democratic accountability. The debate over executive orders reflects the ongoing tension between the need for executive flexibility and the importance of legislative oversight in a system of separated powers. Striking the right balance between these competing values remains an enduring challenge for American governance. Executive orders, as expressions of presidential power, carry significant implications for democratic principles. They embody the tension between the need for decisive executive action and the importance of checks and balances in a system of limited government. On the one hand, executive orders can be seen as tools for enhancing democratic governance. They allow presidents to respond swiftly to emergencies, address pressing national issues, and implement their policy agendas efficiently. In this view, executive orders can be seen as a means of fulfilling the president's mandate to govern effectively and represent the will of the people. On the other hand, critics argue that executive orders can undermine democratic principles by concentrating power in the executive branch and circumventing the legislative process. They contend that excessive use of executive orders can erode the role of Congress, limit public debate on important issues, and create a system where presidential power goes unchecked. The use of executive orders presents a dilemma for democratic governance. While they can be valuable tools for effective governance, they also have the potential to be misused in ways that undermine the separation of powers and democratic accountability. Therefore, it is crucial to maintain a balance between executive discretion and legislative oversight to ensure that executive orders are used responsibly and in a manner consistent with democratic values.